I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of hearing the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of hearing the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the teaching, and the spiritual community. By the merit of hearing the teachings, may I achieve Buddhahood in order to help all living beings. The elder Atisha, in his Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, wrote the following verse: "Those persons are called medium who stop sinful actions, turn their backs on the joys of cyclic existence, and diligently strive just for their own peace."
Oh, that given dengue capsule, Saddam Milikena, let a human be shown to the Saddam Milikena, and me, Nelly Longula Soba, Tungajiran Shishan to Tom. Sada Kena Tungaran Shishan to Tom. Lenu di Shawan to cure the Pumbundolin check over the Sito, Tungajiran Shilem, Mandeva in Samne, and it's Sibe Koe, there were Tamjel never joined. Dilene dog Nijungi Sambakine, Tabatan to Nigore, still given drinks Sigora.
At the point of the person of least capacity, such a person, that the initial level then is cultivating virtuous karma in order to attain a rebirth as a human or a deity. Now, this is at the intermediate level of a person of medium capacity. Then they, as it says here, turn their backs on the joys of cyclic existence. So then they see that even though you're born as a human or a deity, still you're born there under the power of your former karma, under the power of karma and the afflictions, or the mental afflictions. And then also, it's regardless of whether you're born as a human or a deity. So once you're born under the influence of helplessly under the influence of your karma and your mental afflictions, then there is no release from suffering. So then they produce what we call the determination to be free, or some people say renunciation. They have that attitude of renunciation and seek to be completely free of rebirth in samsara.
Yeah. I consider some Cooperative Capsule. Tigbele do down Yeshe. Miki was Chupa, Kiwa Chutubala Sobate, Tubgora. Or Dicaresnate, Sadami, Kiwa de Topjet and Teleshanji Chan, Tawan Dene, Tubgaba Mayanaya, Tarwa Trube, Ludin de Coviora. Tarwa Trube, dance of the Coviosa, Sadami, Kiwa Gune. And it tell a Tarwa Tobacha on Yam the Sumne, Lamiko want to be shut to make it to Sutum Soneta. 데이트도 아니 차단게 녀문도네 코에교 유이소 당진다 차단게 녀무 방배네 타바 토반데베 간사텔이아더니 기분 쟁시거라 데이터 기분 쟁기로데 당니 타바 토바 샤오냐 별로잖네 데이지소 ranchibu 코에 동엘에 타로 상기 메쇼바라 파마르주베 심제 탐제야 아니 동엘에 저버자고 데이시도 상계지 고만 토버자냐베 기부침베 샘격으로 저선자 랑코에 동엘에 타와자 많이 버심제 탐제도 또 상계지 고만 토버자 데이시도 춘년게 인삼네 공무선 때문에 삼버쇼스 된데
Then the verse also mentioned who stop sinful actions. Here, a person on this intermediate level, a practitioner on this. My voice is too low? What?
Yes, louder.
It's so loud in these hearing aids. Okay, I'll raise my voice then. So here, then the person who stops sinful actions, then still at this level, one has to cultivate the 10 virtues and abstain from the 10 non-virtues with the intention to attain a continuous sequence of human lives, human or deities' lives, so that you can practice the teachings and achieve liberation. So then this kind of a person then is seeking liberation for his or herself through cultivating the wisdom that cognizes selflessness and in that way then overcoming the mental afflictions, and in particular the mental affliction of the way it's expressed is achieving a kind of impartiality where you've overcome the afflictions of attachment and hostility. So, and they're doing it for their own sake. So, seeing that, then say, I will practice like that, and then for the sake of all living beings, I will do whatever I can to put others before myself and achieve highest enlightenment. In order to do so, then I will listen to these teachings, study, reflect upon them, meditate on them, today.
Yeah, 당연히 이 솔로가 되주더라. 솔로가 되주대.
So, Geju to be, okay?
Oh,
Dunju. So, let's see. We're on verse here. We don't need this book. Maybe this one is handy. I don't know. I brought a different translation of the verses here. Maybe it's helpful to read two different. Sometimes maybe. I'm not sure. What's that? What's that? But otherwise, we're. This one was done by Dorji Damdul over in the Tibet house. So, I don't know. Yeah, so we're on the page 258, and the verse number here is 69. Yeah.
단디 솔로가 던지 봤어. 어디라 대 가르쳐 그러시나. 데 두신네베 땡각베 르바데게 아니 대단 저샤야 개버땡 되어라. 디지털은 된저바점 돼.
So this is refuting others' syllogisms through that.
데네 트레반도가 신교다. 레글라 속만 남내니 때미시나 세와 인사더라.
So the verse here says, this clears away the idea that there is inherence and the cause of having inherence, because these do not have a basis of abiding, and universals, etc., do abide independent of particulars.
저디 교래.
They don't look sorry. Let's see. I'm trying to find the verse here. They teaching in Geshe don't down to the.
No, it's all Lord, they do it. Chick do it.
Okay, so one is enough, I think. His counting system. It's only
Then the Treban door doesn't do. To see never tango where when Dennis or Dennis. To see never tango where when Dennis or Yondan sell a Treban door. That's Shiruba Kachera. Yondan de sadly a Treban door. Joy or racer. Said the Yondan the Treban doors and the curious. Said the Yondan the Treban doors and the curious. To see never nation cigar. The Mayitis or Sawa in this, then the Treban door, change Juna, Rilas of one Namnani, Dimension and Sawa in Cedra, Sawa in the Cabo de Esoda, Skedo de Esoda, Sawa in the Esoda. To see never 10 meba, then but the Esoda. Dimension now, Sawa is to see never 10 meba teaching, and then there's a China Yundan, let and do all about the Treban door change Julas over here. So
this verse then that's it. This reasoning here, this reasoning refers to that. There is no point in either a non-existent or an existent entities having a simultaneous cause of abiding. So this clears away, the idea, this reasoning, which refutes the existence of a basis for the abiding of an already existent entity, also clears away the idea that there is inherence connecting substance and quality, and that substance is the cause of having the co-inherence of qualities. Because it has been shown that something that already exists does not have a basis of its abiding.
This one? Lord Sarah. That do it. That do order done. Sumba.
It follows that it is unacceptable to say that if there is no cause of having inherence, then there cannot be inherence, because even without a refutation of particulars, universals, etc., do abide.
That's all got to there. Oh, did get this not they need to kiss Geshe Banjuna, never can only say Soloka, Tunji there. Oh, they got Shagorashana. Jibu Tunshana on to see never thing but Meteba and Yeshe. Tasologa de Chindona, the Yamdo Lotion and Dura.
Uh,
We would the Negu Kishi Cha, the Tame Batase. They need you Kishi Cha, said Ra. We would not take one Kuyan Kesa to Yan Nebek, you said the Logachi Shabatilla, Tonda Maresigora. They need you Kishi Cha, the Koba Maresigora. Garasane, Kushan Ngobo Jigugi, Jigbang or Magibachers. Gyushenle ngobu to ganga gyushenle jiku gramado kuran jigbe ngo maje bayena ne neba cheku mare sigara kede shenle ngo jingna te ne ju chishi chase gyushenshi ki kon jigbe cheku de gyushenshi ki jigbe maje bodo kuran ne du de te ne gena kuran nebe gyula ga ku mare sigara kede shenle ngo jingna te ne ju chishi chase te shen meba jingna yanse December Gyushenle Gobun Jigu Jigben or Majusira. Jigu Shen Meba Rangi Nangi Jigu Yonasagora. Deshen Meba Jigna Yanse, Jigu Ten Shen Megobar, Korangangi Jigu Yonasagora, and then Nebek you did and that you Marco Nangi Jigu, Nebek you never took Maresagora.
That's right. So if we read the verse, which is numbered 70 here, what can the cause of abiding of that do, since there is destruction of the entity through a separate cause? Since entities are destroyed without any separate cause, it is not the case that causes of abiding can perpetuate entities. So here, the topic here is that when we analyze a destructive cause that originates later, it is unacceptable that there be a cause of abiding of an already existent entity. By the way, this is a summary, right? So what if we read the commentary, it's what it follows can the cause of abiding of that already existent entity do? It has no purpose, since its purpose is the destruction. It has no purpose, since its purpose is the destruction of the entity through a separate cause, but an already existent entity has not arisen as essentially destructible. Since an entity is destroyed by its own nature without any separate cause that destroys it, it follows that it is not the case that causes of abiding are able to make an already existent entity abide. This next verse, 71, we call it 71, is saying that if there exists a support for the abiding of an already existent entity, because that Indeed. So we were on this summary where it says, if there exists a support for the abiding of an already existent entity, it follows that there is no destruction. So then the verse.
Tango Jitan the Chabane, Tagwa de Ko never chigora. Tagwa de never Chabane, ko Tagwa and Joa Mexico never chigora. Any Jiba Mebatan over Resungora. Tenje Tamjan and then the Javashango Tenje Yeshe. Teaching over Tamjan and Gashisan and Jimmy Jose. Cabata Tango Jitan the Cheva, Tamjan Mijibar, never done them by Cabaches. That is not that love to do 60 matches long Matunda. Long end do it.
So the 71 then is if there were a cause of abiding, no entity could be destroyed at any time, for all arisen entities would possess a support, and all that have a support abide. So the commentary on this verse then says, it follows that no entity could be destroyed at any time, because all arisen entities ultimately would possess a support that is a permanent entity, such as a self, etc. It follows that this reason pervades, because all entities that have as a support a permanent entity necessarily abide without being destroyed. No, don't do so.
No, yeah. Tandirda, Soloka, Tunjutan Sumdira. No, yeah. Tandikansu dosina. Getting Lobo Tamja Rani, Jibang and Jujan Gitani in Nasura. Gede Rangjing and Juta in Ase, Suganiba. Gede Rangjing and Juta in Ase. Getting over somewhat of the ranking Angi Koran Jig don't get Tanisha in Asigua. Gede Rangjing and Juta in Ase. And it day Nazi Shank to sing near Minibatas. Korangangi Jiggy and it Nazi. I never think you could never set to Marwasagora. Get it, Ransing and Judah in a Tennessee, Kansas. Nancy could never send me to Maresagora. To say never Resagora. Get it, Ransing and Judah in a Tennessee Shanka. Get it, Ransing and Judah Mina Tennessee Shankas. Rangi Jigbe, Nagi Jigbe, Tanisha Maina. And then you never check Umar, Conjigmare. Nanga Jigbe Dani Jane, Negu never chetumare. Negu never chetuma, never Jutanda Maresuda.
So we're on page 260, we're verse 72 here. If an entity has a nature such that it is itself naturally destructible, what other entity can affect its abiding? If it does not have a nature such that it is itself naturally destructible, what other entity can affect its abiding? So here the summary is when we analyze how an entity exists in its own nature, we see that it is unacceptable that there exists a basis of abiding. So if an entity has a nature, if we read the commentary on the top of page 261, if an entity has a nature such that it is itself naturally destructible, then what other entity can affect its abiding? None, it follows, has the power to make an already existent entity abide. If it does not have a nature such that it is itself naturally destructible, what other entity can affect that entity's abiding? It follows that there is no need for such an effector, either the effector being, a basis of abiding. That's a.
This way. Lots of it, that is solo got 20 did. Solo got 20 did. Oh, dig got a segregation. So I don't share of last over to Rosegora. So I don't share of last over 10 Amsegora. And the Luigi Putuchumata, Luke Gabalet and Cochiandra, Luke Gabalet and Marquin Drive on my Resegora. And the Korangi long Lama Combalet and Niji come, and the paint over. Should have come, near a paint over the matter. Luke Gabba the equivalent, Sawada Shirula Soba, Kebata Kuban Dugmares, Wara.
Mm.
Oh, this on the co, Sawada Shirula Soba, Tezo, Lula Tengimares, Gora.
Mm.
No,
No.
Lude Tagimares, Lugi Tagin, it's our Shirula, so Kigmares.
Mm.
Longama, Sawangama, Combalatene Pegre, Magumna Pegmare.
Mm.
Shiro Compassion Pegre, Magumna Pegmares.
No.
Oh, Kalevamare. Yeah.
So here in verse on page 261, verse 73, wisdom, etc., have their increase and decrease take place through changes in mental formations without following the increase and decrease of the body. So it's asserting the Buddhist position that in former lives, the increase and decrease of such mental formations, we're calling them as wisdom and so forth. These increase and decrease based upon whether one has become familiar with them in the past or not, and
solo tunju tunji chata tunju tunga de nyamdo yongdo tunju tunga de dibata tun joa yin shara de karasana dine mame yola so temba namla yoma yin shara dine mame yola so temba namla yoma yin shara luji phudu chonga dan dibe che so cheba mebar wa dine mame yola so temba namla yoma yin shara tan de sigro mame yola so ba nyele lule temba tzulia ni lu phudu chonga le phudu chonga da lu dibal tene dibat yoko rese wala asa shit so da shirola so ba lu phudu chonga pe da lu ku ne ku ba di yoma rese wala o te nyele ina ani tende chi ko gu rese dine mame hola so temba namla yoma yese yeah.
The next verse, 74, goes with this one. So this wisdom does not exist as dependent, like lamplight, etc., meaning the light from a lamp. It an oil lamp, as you remember. It improves through improvement of that body. But the body does not assist directly in generating mind, so it is not mind's special basis. And again, the Buddhist in the last line is asserting that the, what are we calling it, the substantial cause has to be mind, and body can't act as a substantial mind, a substantial cause of mind.
Yeah, madisha. Tande kare chulin sogi lu gebar chebale shirula soba kebar don go ton eche sigara kachi sigara sobo chulin ya butane kala soba ya du chulin la soba tinde tan sobo ya bu gesona sobo tangbu ya bu desona ni shirula soba lo sewada tinde keban do asigara de karesna tinde keban do asigara tele jang de kenjurte ese lu kebar do jurba tele jang shirula soba chungse kebar do jur mesira to keban do asigara tele jang de kenjurte di keban do de kandis do resna lu te ten kebar che mayin barta sina lu de ge so da shirula soba riba ser do la soba de ten kebar che mare se nyele mare ta gen mare sigara tende lu ji lu shi la pen tak besir tende lu de ge lu shi ke sobo ya bo yodo san lu de ge lu shi ke lu shi de ya bo yodo ne shirab de la pen tak bala sobo riba se wala sobo tende yong de sigara te lu koran ge so da shirab la sobo te la ngo so nyele che ne pen tak yo mare ta gen che ne pen tak yo mare sigara
So, sorry, we didn't get a chance to, because Jalbed did logo, so wisdom, compassion, etc. We didn't get a chance to read the, what is it? the commentary here on page 262. So wisdom, compassion, etc. do not have the body as their special basis because their increase and decrease take place through changes in previously accustomed mental formations without following the increase and decrease of the body's health. This reason pervades because this reason demonstrates that wisdom does not exist as dependent on the body, such as the light of a lamp does, but depend on their substantial causes. Because we see that there is an improvement in wisdom, etc., when the body is strengthened through elixirs, etc., it is the case that this wisdom, etc., also improve a little through improvement in that body, but it does not follow that the body is their special basis, because the body assists wisdom through directly assisting in the generation of the body cognition, or we call it body consciousness, perhaps we can say, but does not assist directly in the generation of the mind. So it is not the special basis of the mind. Here the special basis means like the body is not the dominant condition of the mind. The opponent says that attachment, if we go to page 263, then verse 75 is attachment, etc. That did because don't you do drug the bed danda did doing young good so then yeah no did
no solo ga tunju dira oh yeah dan di karishe go resna ul tambu she tonda de karishe go resna lu de la tene lu geba da geba la tene ene dosha da konto to ski go se go ra lu ya bu ge suna ne dosha she do de lu ma go suna ne so bu de me do konto se ene mi ki ba che de yung go se go ra de ko lu geba da geba la tene chakdang so ba te su ki do a se na se go ra oh da de lu geba da geba la tene chakdang so ba 중세 갑갑을 끼그래 해서 거라. 걔네 되게 류기 년래다 다긴 전에 겨 말해서. 디시에요. 셰 돈다. 디시 랩통는 게 람나니. 거기 하고 그래.
No. So now we're moving on to refuting the idea that it is the principal condition of attachment and so forth. What's going to be discussed is the opponent is sort of bringing up, how when we're really in good health and feeling strong, and then our attachment increases, and then when our body is weak and we're feeling sick and so forth, then our anger and our anger or hostility then increase in that case. So it's clear that the mind is affecting the body. That's how the opponent feels about it. But then this is refuting that kind of an idea.
This one,
Do so.
당가지 쳐서 계속 배워 두도 내긴 식도. 소소도 배시럽다 대외 두 가시기 세스거라. 류게나 고삼로 당신 계시는 데서 배고 말해서거라. 소소도 배시럽이나. 류그 배히나고 전에 샘고는 컨트롤해서 봐. 소소도 배시럽 삼로 당신 계시는 고 컨트롤 말해서 서버체도 그래서거라. 같이 쳐서 계속 두 가시기 세스거라. 소소도 배시럽다 대외 질당기 미 삼로 당미신 버서다. 전에 도저게 류게발 때는 저샤키 류게발 때는 아니 산다 컨트롤해서 전에 겨도 연구돼서 거라. 같이 차서 계속 배워도 되게. 대 류게 다게 전에 기요 말해서라 류게 류시게 류시라 때네 이시도 기가 됐어라 소소도 버시로다 제베 뚱가 시게 세세 아니 개그 소게 폐와를 제베 착소 출신에서 그 류데 교기 뭐게 다게 전에 기요 말해서라 소아 디둘에 개바인 베셔서 류게 메데와 존에 코 루시코지 소아게 소아들 때는 세바 기바단 대샤다 텐데 용거 됐어라
네. Uh, so here it's verse 75, attachment, etc., which increase through the strength of the body at times have arisen from pleasure and pain. In turn, these sensations have arisen from proximity to an internal object that is a balance or imbalance of the elements. So the opponent here is, we're in the middle of, we're in the middle of page 263. The attachment, etc., follow on the increase and decrease of the strength of the body, because we see that attachment increases in a strong body and anger in a weak body. So Geshe, or the Buddhist counter this idea is that attachment, etc., which increase through the strength or weakness of the body at times when the mind is separate from the wisdom realizing reality. Here it's saying that just in ordinary persons who don't have the wisdom that knows emptiness, that when you have that, then that doesn't, the body doesn't affect you like that. But do not have, so this is ordinary persons, do not have the body as their direct principle condition, this attachment and so forth, and anger and so forth, are not the direct principle condition. Because that's that dominant condition that we've been talking about. Because they have arisen directly from sensations of pleasure and pain, it's coming, that those mental afflictions are coming through feeling. It's this sensations, or the feeling of pleasure or the feeling of pain. In turn, those feelings of pleasure and pain do not have the body as their principal condition, because they have arisen from proximity to an internal tangible object that is the balance or imbalance of the elements and so forth. So these feelings come not from directly from the object that they, which is the, imbalances and so forth of the body, but they come from the perception of those. They're substantial. Our perception of those imbalances then acts as the cause of our feelings of pleasure and pain and so forth. But yeah, that is that. That dun, right?
You live side
No.
yeah
Oh.
they come you last one now that that don't go lu gave a tenera and it's what there was only called the shaki gora lu goose on any metal sene condona miki by gora oh do you have this gora oh carrying was in a yield in the Luigi Toa Luigi Tagiani Kirio Mares gora Luigi Lucici Kiore Lucy so at the Washigora. Tell it then any ye Chevalia, they will send the chapel so what they go resgora.
So,
Indig Shagora. Then a commune loss over Nagaton and Yavalia. So I did do Taya, Ludi Kirky, Tajin Mahinde, commune but a million ballos over Nagi Reset turns Lula Debutan Medeva Yoete. Lud Gerson and so whatever that's on the swat of Kigora and Lushikot. Intelligent to Shakigora. Lui te made come to Chenani, Medeva Kigora, Janis, Tungayogora. Reset some you don't know like basis. Did this I think fortune.
no, so
Anything to do Shinelekura.
no, so it's those feelings. So I got a little ahead here, so we'll repeat this last two lines. I think it is. I don't know. Anyway, it's after it says from sensations of pleasure and pain. In turn, those feelings of pleasure and pain do not have the body as their principal condition, because they have arisen from proximity to an internal, tangible object, that is the balance or imbalance of the elements, so etc. So the idea is that they don't act as the feelings, the sensations of pleasure and pain do not directly act as the what are we calling it? Principal condition here, or dominant condition. They are the result. They are. It's the perception. Okay, the perception of the pleasure. Let's say the perception of the objects, the imbalance and so forth, then gives rise to this the feelings of pleasure and pain, and where the mind is perceiving. What do you say? You have the what do you say? Well, you have the physical, what do we call it? The body sense faculty then acts as the dominant condition for the body consciousness. Okay, and so there's always between the object that causes the pain and the perception of pain, there's always this you heard perception, the consciousness of pain maybe is we have this perception of pain. So that this perception then is what acts as the dominant condition. Well, this is not the perception of pain. Then is what causes the consciousness, the body consciousness, or the what do we say, physical. We're going to just call it body consciousness of the pain. So that's the what do you say, procedure. It's not this the what do you say, physical imbalance is directly causing the consciousness of the pain. So then the physical is not directly causing, is not the dominant or the principal condition of that consciousness of the pain. No, 되게 돼.
아까리세구나 하고 먹네. 다 돈다. 나도 속보 야부 차서나. 속보 대부체 칼라 야부체. 아니 속보 대부체 야부 차서네. 속보야 소화 대화 연구하라. 레저 대부체체 류기 렉자치게니 루시 소화 대화 기여라. 루시 소화 대화 기여서는 어디게 류기 렉자데 렉자 야가데 송나유도 chen 루시 거기 소화 대화 기여라. 될 때는 이기 쉐바데 당아 야고데도 삼제 신자기 도사기여라. 인도장고 류기 렉자면다 하신 거라. 렉자면다 될 때는 그 대회 소화기 거래. 디 류기 렉자 되게 기도 와. 데 대화녀가 되게 이기 쉐바께체 류시 대부가 되게 이기 쉐바께 이실을 대화는 거라. 자 이기 쉐바되게 류기 다게 chen 류기 년이 chen 거 수기가 요 말해서 거라. 류를 렉자 야가지 좋은데 디 용gen게 소화 류시 거기 소화 대화용 거라. 류도 용 거라. 될 때는 sempre 어다 야구요 삼제 신자지 기거라. 아주 넘경을 좀 듣고라. 소분 나서는 대부요 말아. 대부 매주장 땅을 키우면도 건너게 세로 지지 매대 도세도 렉자 매대 준 거라. 소분 나를 렉자 매대 하지. 매대 준 거. 디 리시가 하고 그러라. 디 렉자 디 송이도 전에 리시기 저 동에도 끼라. 디 리시기가 땅야 보면 도상아니 동에께는 땅한다고도 삼 이기 쉐바티 기거라. 자 이기 쉐바티 류기 내내체 다게 째는 거 스키리요 말해서 거라. 류리아 렉자 대화다 매대와 니 중에 초아디도 냥게데 류시지게 되게니 sem 기보다 미기보다 거래서 그래. 근데 하고 난디 간거 하고 차례.
네.
내가 막고는 다다다 시야나 하고 말해.
So you have to. So what's being talked about here is you have to understand that the whole procedure of how we perceive our for instance, take an example of when we're sick, or you got a headache or whatever. Whatever kind of illness we have, the perception of that is, this is where the English, but you're having the body consciousness, okay, becomes aware of that, okay, and so then it's really the sense of touch is what we're talking about. So there's some kind of a tangible feeling, a tangible sensation in the body, and that acts as the dominant condition for a body consciousness, okay, that has its object of whatever, the pain of a headache, and so then that body consciousness then acts as the cause for or condition for the mental consciousness to think about, oh, this is bad for me, and then you have all sorts of thoughts about, oh, I've got a headache, and I don't know if I'll be able to translate today or whatever. So then once you get that whole process down, that's the Buddhist perspective on it. And then if you take the Charvaka perspective, they're just saying that the body, that there's not this, this kind of step-by-step procedure. They say that the body, that sense of that tangible object of pain or whatever of your illness is acting as a direct cause to the mind going, oh, this is really a bad situation. I don't know what I'll be able to do. I have to lie down or whatever. So then their feeling is, well, that's the direct cause, but the Buddhists are refuting that idea. So if you get that, then you're going to get You get everything that's being said here.
Ending to Soloka 2020 redwa. Oh, they carry didn't do well last over. Tampanyam so sheba in Chara. Now don't care about that, learning your Cheshire, say. Develas about Tampanyam Shabbat. The Dutch reject and song to Chevrolet. Long below Georgia. Not this cigar. Do the Ness and Nazashi Nagdoa. Naza. Naza the Nana and it so won't be there. She was just Tampa don't do it. Tampa maybe shall you order. Tampa maybe shall you order. Do be net and Nasona. Tampa Yam do you Tampa Yam do you Oh, dear, then you say Tampa Yamati, Luigi Target and Yelich and Majanet and the Yamdo Maresigora. Take us a Luigi, Rexha Medea shook some shike, till Lucy shike, and the Meadow and then go Tambaton do you Luigi Medea Chichone, Lucy saw Medea skigora. This shook some kid and go Tambanyam do you but the Lu Korange. Was Tampanyamba the Sheba Marisgora. Dinin Duva last over Tampanyam so Sheba is. The Tampanyamba condition now don't care very late, give a learning watches. Now the Rexa Medea Shibichon, tell a tenny Lucy again, Yigi Sheba to Duzanko, Tampaton do Yora. What is Yora?
Didn't you do?
Dundida.
Didn't
Didn't Duva last over Sigura. Tampanyam so Sheba Hako to Gudesigora. Tate and the Carisha Luigi Rexa Medraski, Lucy. Lucy again, Yigi Lutti or Desigora. Or Taganashi, Dube Ned and Naduzan Lula Meteo Shibusike, Tea Rexa de Sumusin, Lucy, tell a ten any Yigi Sheba Pet, Tampamagasando or Desigora.
So here in verse, we're in verse 76, where it says, in this way it is explained how memory loss, etc., originate from typhoid, etc., because memory are just transformed by a cognition that arises from a change in an internal object. So in this way, if we look at the top of page 264, then the commentary on this says, in this way, it also is explained how memory loss, etc., originate from typhoid fever, etc., because they are just transformed by a sensory cognition that arises from a change in an internal tangible object. And so then what's happening is, as explained before, the tangible object acts as a condition, as well as the the body sense faculty for the production of a body consciousness, that you have a perception, this and then a perception of the a perception of the internal whatever it is, in this example of the fever and so forth, and then it's based on that that internal that object in the body sense faculty, then that gives rise to this our mental consciousness, then and having and the mental consciousness then is what has this experience of a loss of memory and so forth. Tadrisa.
Tangani did that, did you didn't do that?
Did you do?
Did you do there? Singachi the town was at
Oh, that.
That turned out tuna. Don't do it, the Shagora, Tamati, turned out to do Shagora. Teacher never Kanye can do chicken change over some of the Meju and teach some of the Temba, etc. Oh, the Garcia was a Meju and teach some of the Temba and Sigora. Some days or you look over some Sigora. You look over some days, some Gamala Temba Sigora. Teacher some of the Temba inside. Teacher some of the Temba, etc. Garasana Nele. Nyele do mena sem ngamachi nyele do mena ko mejunga res gora sem ne teme mejunga tijir sem la temba yese oma de sem de yigi sheba de sem ngama nyele do meba la ko jung ma res gora te so da yigi sheba ke wa de sem ngamachi ge nyele chebal tene ke gore sem ngamachi ge tagin chebal tene ke gore es gora dilu de lu ge nyele chene ke ma re luang ge tagin chene ke ma res gora the same nature, same grammar temper, and the Tingalendo Mena Mijon Yeshe. Did do that. Teacher similar tempers. Same Deme Mijon was teacher some gamma tennis or same names, some gamma tennis order. Same dene, ye lieutenants, you look how much in Yelendo Mena Mijon at Esera. Same Deme Mijon Asher. Teachers on the you look at Yelen some gamma chilatene. Nana rang tajin some gamma chilatene keyboard Esora. You look at any Luigin Yelish and Kigmare. Luang tajin and Kigmare Segora. This is Zatogora. This is Gora. You do it. Nothing devil on it. Did it. Hakona. Same church, same gamma tempe. Nyele, Tinyele domena, Mijon Yeshe and Nyele Lula temper my indes, Nyele and Kigmarde, never same gamma, Kaya Ruange, Combalet and Tinyele and Kigre. That in a shit, Tajin and Miwa, Luang Tajin and Kigmades or Yeshe Segora. Lucy also got Tajin and Kigora. Machine Nashi, Lucy, the Rexam. Till Luang Tajin and Kigora. Yeshe did Luang Tajin Sigmaru, Lugin and Sigomaris, Tinka.
So we didn't, just to read the last part of the previous verse, for example, well, it's verse 77, yeah, we didn't get a chance, but just we'll read the commentary here. For example, the mental confusion, etc., that will occur through some changes in a timid person's continuum when they hear the words, a tiger is coming, or see the blood of some being who has been killed, are not based directly on the body, but they are merely intensified by internal feelings. So the summary here then, I lowered my voice, but I think I'm actually like talking right into the microphone, so that helps. Then let's see. Here the summary here is what again I just read, and it's verse 78 in our system. Therefore, mind is based on mind, because without it, it will not occur. It definitely succeeds on the formations of some previous mind. So here, what's being presented is that mind, when we're talking about mind, it's talking about the mental consciousness. And the mental consciousness is like before we said, is what thinks about what is being perceived, okay, by whatever, what do we call it, sensory consciousness. So the mental consciousness is not is not the result directly of 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 either the body, or the physical, the sensory organ, okay, the sensory faculty, I guess we're calling it. It's not, because, like we're saying, is that there is this, it's the mental consciousness comes from the sensory consciousness. You have to have, so there's those three conditions that give rise to the sensory consciousness, and then that is what acts as a principal, condition, or what is the other word? Substantial cause of the mental consciousness. Therefore, so then the commentary says, therefore mind is based on previous mind, because without that as its substantial cause, it will not occur. It is not based on the body as its substantial cause, because it definitely succeeds on the accustomated formations of some appropriate previous mind.
Oh yeah. That and that is lamna can do left to them. Tandako did Mishi Segora, Mishi Nashi Chishi Lushise, Luigi Twandameda, how can get Lushitoa, Luigi Rexandameda, Tawachi do Sero, Kagadu Sero, Angandi Nagadusa, how can get so I can get Shebadoa. That's Lushira. That's what the Luange Tajian Kigora. Miwa Nawa Chama Luanse, that's all Tajian, that's all Chicha and it was to Kigora. Won't be Shebatas. This one. This is love that.
So that maybe this will help you or not. When we have what we call we have the mental sense. We have the what do you say, the sensory consciousnesses. Okay, the sensory consciousnesses, you have to understand, arise from their respective sense faculties. So that when you have some kind of consciousness of a body sensation, or it's some kind of a tangible object, we call it, within the body, then it's the body sense faculty then picks that up and produces this sensory consciousness, and that is true of all the different senses, whether it's your visual sense, your auditory sense, your I don't know, what's the word, olfactory sense, and so forth.
Yeah. Yiji Sheba, Yiji Sheba does make it so as you told me, she is so to and it is so called a samla tangre. The Mshig Taji to Tenet, Geshe call a samla code, Timanum, to Meshibudu Shimadu some code, Rexano Sawando Shichi, Nagina did give me do tell me do Rexano Lushiki, Tilatani, Yiji Sheba, Yabudu to the summer coyora. Sanko Luigi Sheba. Luanda, Tezo Tajins and Kogos Kigdoa. Tilatani, Yiji Sheba de Samutanje, Samukoviora. Ye Ponce some Yiji Sheba, the Luigi Sheba Kagamaji, Sheba Kanga, one would have to give some Giora. Me one now to give to Lulit and Kigdosam. Tikaga de Sigora. Lucy to the Kanga, Luang Tajins and Kigres. Yiji Sheba de Tezo Sheba de Lucy to the Kenche. Nekona nyelen sem ngamaletene tajin sem ngamaletene kigres ombu sujen ba luji chato so kigma resigora tini keba chigora tunda.
So the difference between the perceptions of these two systems, the Buddhists and the Charvakas, then based on that, it's these sensory consciousnesses then that we produce our mental consciousness. The mental consciousness is what contemplates, if you hear a sound and it sounds beautiful to you, then you go, oh, that's such a great sound. And you're hearing the sound, it seems directly, or you have a smell, or there's some kind of smell, and that you experience that as being, oh, that's such a good incense you're burning, or you see something and that looks beautiful. And it seems like a very direct experience. So from the viewpoint of the from the Charvaka, they're saying that that our mental, what do you say if it's a smell? So our olfactory sense then is directly causing our mind. So it's to have a pleasant experience. So then, or an unpleasant experience. But it's not the. So they're thinking that the sense, what we're calling the sense faculty, or you can say body, is directly causing the sense, the mind to experience whether it's a happy or unhappy situation, but they or perception rather. But in the Buddhist perspective, it's not that. Okay, that what's first produced is this mental, this sensory consciousness. Okay, and then the sensory consciousness acts as a cause of the mental consciousness. So when we go, oh, that smells good, there's it's sort of a two-step process that's going on from the Buddhist viewpoint. So then if that sensory perception, we can call, or a sensory consciousness, that's what I'm sorry to keep on using those back and forth, but if that sensory consciousness, or here he uses sensory cognition, sensory consciousness is what we usually do, sensory cognition, then that's the that is the what do you say, substantial cause of the mental. What we experience as the mind, but it's the mental consciousness then having thoughts and so forth about whatever the object is.
Oh yeah.
So it's two different views, right?
Yiji sheba shiwara. Yiji sheba de ko me shibi chi tong yang samlu kong na shibi chi su ta te rurja ombu shebe chi so yu to sun jenge yiji sheba shiwara. Dan samtang liya ombu sheba to su mena ko na ke tobu yara. Pina milam de stang yu na. Ya ni tobu shida ku de yu na. Ani ko me shi da na shi de chi shi to su yo mara. Te su mena yang ko na de tobu do. Yong'al teni yong'al ki steura. Melam tang du na ko ombe sheba yomara. Ina yiji sheba te tudwa. Ni tubu kosu na melam tang yomara sembe sheba si te tudwa. Shakju chidwe ombe sheba yomara te yiji sheba si te tudyora. Oti ndi ko yiji na mandro shagres gora. Yiji ta je ni mandro shagres. Ombe sheba to sobu ko chashi chile. Then mother care your mother. Teach the Kawachima to do Yi Shebatin Dura. Won't be Shebato to Colunium do it, Mepsanura. What did it? How could I turn share your
So you understand then that it's the sensory consciousnesses that are giving rise to the mental consciousness. So there's that direct relationship between those two. But so the mental consciousness is dependent upon these sensory consciousnesses. But there are instances where then the mental consciousness is not dependent upon sensory consciousness, and that is like when you're in a deep sleep and you're dreaming, the mental consciousness is very much at work. And then, although in all your sensory faculties are shut down at that time, and the same thing happens during when you have an operation and you're unconscious, but still the mind is working at that time, and so then this is where we say that mind has to depend upon a previous moment of mind. That the mind comes from mind; it doesn't come from body. The sense faculties are body, okay, but they're all shut down in those cases, and still the mind is proceeding, okay. So then that's why then at the point of death, then we say that the mind continues, okay, because there's those sense consciousnesses and sense faculties are destroyed with the body, but still, even though they're destroyed, the mind, mental consciousness, is not dependent upon those to continue. So then we say that there is continuation after death of this mental consciousness. So it's trying to establish that. That's what's trying to be established here. Now the Charvakas, then, they don't assert this idea of a mental consciousness. They say everything is just the sensory consciousness, and so then when the senses stop, we can just use the word sense, our understanding of the senses sort of seems to join together the sensory consciousness and the sense faculties. So when the senses stop, then they say the mind is destroyed. But they don't have this idea of some faculty, some mental faculty that acts independent of the senses, and so then so it's this that this mental consciousness then that Buddhists say continues from one life to the next. Adrisa.
Oh yeah. That was it. Tangani did it. Sholoka the Geshe de legdo. Geshe de
Geshe. Oh,
legdo. Dan di karishe ge res al tambu tanda di she de ha go da. Ta ko karishe do sina. Bira. Kede pui lu de padan drabu ki ra so bu de. Pamdan drabu yora kashe padan dra kashe madan drabu yora. Sedan kede pui lu ni pame lu ji jesun do aton ve se tele ke ba yin la se ro. Pame lu gi nyele che ba la tani ni pui lu di ki ra pu do pame lu di ki ra. Ki re so ra. Sem de ne lu le tam de resta. Sem de lu le lo so yo ma de se go ra. Sem da lu ni che ba de ma do sem sing ge je lo ga je che yo ma de se go ra. Sem gyang lu le ne tam de ba de te so da 계란게 셈가마게 셈 침마기 그랬어도 와서 얘기 셔버려. 이신가마게 이시 침마기 그랬어도. 이신가마게 이시 침마기 그랬대. 류레때네 메기 공문도 류레때네 기거래서 와라. 셈가마데 류레때네 기거래. 셈가마게 셈 침마기 베네 데 류레때네 기거래. 셈레때네 기거래서 와라. 셈가마르때네 기는 류레때네 기메고 봐 말해. 네가 샤초도 와서 그래. 양자. 셈가면 두지기 제선 도라 투베 류라 메템바 미트로보셔나서. 셈 얘기 셔바데 류를 땡기 말해. 셈가마게 이신가마게 이시치마 기그르세. 네가 샤초도 와서 그래. 이신가마 이시기 그래. 이시 고란데 밤에 류를 땡기 기거래. 류기 바나시레세. 땡게 하면 두세 그래. 그 똑바더라. 다 들린데 많이 내자기어라. 솔로가 껴지. 어디지라나?
So on the top of page 265 here, if we go right to what the opponent is saying, then instead of reading, we have as verse 79 here. The opponent is saying, because we see that a child's body succeeds the parent's body, that is, the child's body comes from their boy or girl, they're born from the parents' bodies. And so we say that a child's body arises from the parents. And mind also arises from the body, because it too is not different from the body of that's arising from the parents. So the mind also comes from the parents. When you prove that mind follows previous mental formations, you do not prove that it is not based on the body. What the Thabkhe is saying here is that okay, we can accept that the mind comes from mind. That we're no problem with that. But you have to say that it comes from the body as well. So it has to come from both. Yeah.
Luda sem chikbare su loga yo mare se gora. Nojene lu che sem che kaga yora. Tibje kaga yora ko loga yo mare se gora. Luda sem che chikbare se gora. Chigren tele sem da luda mihi da na shikarsena mingdana. Tonda chigma do yo mare se gora. Ta tele ane tobache sambache ane yigi sheba kichi shen sona se gora. Ane lu digre ta na shi sewa de gure se gora. Yu di se go de se gora. Semli ya yu sewa na she ne lu de le ya de se yu de se go de se gora. Gare se lu da sem chig ma do yo ma che chi gora. Che chi nan ko be gar so de. Semla sewa na she lu le se go de se gora. Geshe gora. Den do den ma. Shina. Chide semla ten she ne Toson dushe semla ni dushe tade mebe teda lula yun den gyo sekda. Semliya semge yun dame da sheba tese semge chidar sheba na shi lula tizu sebe yun den yoba de do re sigara. Tada lusim chig de se. Da ina da di chami chig che se ro de se ni de do. Ya yusu ya.
No, so then the refuting this section with verse 79 as it's listed here on 264 is saying that if the mind is it's refuting the idea that the body and mind are substantially identical. Here the position of the Thabkhe is that body and mind are substantially the same. Zechik, we say. So then Buddhists then say that they're tade, they're two different. What do you say? They're substantially different. But so then what they're saying is then that just as the mind has to be made clear, the body has to be made clear. So if mind is substantially identical to the body, then if we read this verse 79 on page 264, if mind is substantially identical to the body, then just as the formation of listening, etc., are based on mind, so when in the mind there is awareness, those qualities should appear as clearly in the body, because body and mind are not different. Oh, I see. So, yeah. Sorry, I got the idea of clearly a little mixed up. That what's clearly is the qualities of the mind should appear clearly in the body as well. Danda dutsu.
Assembly are 7 I should lulu say go yona. Assembly ni ka sore. Da call condition machine. Danding met is no tasarore. Danding was a danding to do homa did it. Jaji did a. Sholoka Jaji did a.
Oh, yeah.
Danding
Picture dealers on the digger away.
Yeah,
Did Delba did logo, Delba did Lona.
Oh, yeah, to load you the way.
Look you.
To load and did this.
So then, if we read the commentary, it follows that just as the formations of listening, reflection, creativity, etc., which are accustomated based on previous minds of their own type, appear clearly to a conscious mind, so at the time when there is awareness of them in the mind, those qualities should appear as clearly in the body, as they are clearly manifest to the mind, because they are mental qualities definitely suitable to be classified as mind, and body and mind are not substantially different. So we'll end the class with that. So now we're at verse 80 here.